And welcome back to another episode of Rebuilding Bolton, the analysis days. It's the end of season 3. We're analysing how fun it was to win a league, quite frankly. This one might be, I don't know. I really don't know. I always predict how long or short they're going to be, and at the end of the day, they're as long or as short as they are. So we'll start off with RCN. He's considered the best player at the club right now. I'm impressed with him this year. He's chipped in goals, more so than last year, and I think that's important for him to actually chip in those goals for us, because one of the things I criticised our centre-backs for last season was not scoring enough goals, compared to the XG of them anyway, and this year he has done that. He's exceeded it. He's got some assists as well. I do think the latest patch has definitely nerfed the ratings on centre-backs, particularly our libero, which is a shame, but we'll see. Maybe we're just playing badly. That could have been a factor as well, so good season for him. Robbie Cundy played about half the year, wasn't spectacular, but, you know, he's just a no-nonsense player, does the job for us, can pass pretty well. Well, sort of. He's fine. He's still going to be here. He does want to leave, I think. Oh no, he wants a new contract. And to be fair, he's on very little money, so we may well sort that one out for him in the summer, because it's important to have backup with people like Cundy. Ryan Delaney, his contract is up this summer, and unfortunately, I just don't see a future for him here. He's not played for us this season, and he will almost certainly be gone. Callum Doyle, still a long way to work on for him, obviously. You know, he hasn't really played a lot this year. I thought he would play more, but our defenders were just better this season. So maybe a loan spell, honestly, next year. I really don't know. But he is a useful backup player to have around. He did make some substitute appearances for us here and there, but never really got the chance for us this season yet. Owen Doyle, of course, didn't play at all. Will be leaving this summer because he's retiring. That's fine. And that will get a load of money off the wage bill too. Akin Mayo, been impressed. Maybe could have done with a couple more goals from him, but that's fine. He wants to commit his future to the club, but that club, of course, is Norwich. He is wanted by some other clubs, though. So I think it depends on if he signs a new deal or not. I don't know if he has done that. No, he still hasn't. So I'll try my best to get him in on a free, but what will often happen is they'll sign a new deal the day before you basically can do it. So he may or may not be back next year. I'd like to get him back on loan if I can, but if not, then we may have to look elsewhere, and that's where Callum Doyle may get a promotion, essentially. Not sure if I will get him back on loan next year. I'm honestly not sure, because he hasn't actually played as much this year as I was expecting, because he got so many injuries, and Regan Bucci just ended up doing his role way better than he did. Charlie Good came in midway through the season. Now, he's played fine. I think there's definitely room for him to, well, not really to improve. I think he's just a solid player right now, and that's fine by me, quite frankly. I want to see what he could do over a longer period of time, but, you know, I think his PPG is going to be quite solid. Bryce Hosanna has literally not played at all this season. A couple of substitute appearances, and that is about it. Definitely going to move him on this summer if I can. Bashir Humphreys barely played because he kept getting an injury. Every time he got a chance to play, he got that injury. Did get a goal, though, so there's that. That's nice. Zidane Iqbal, his contract is up next summer. Hasn't really got as many game time opportunities this season, but I still think there's room for it. Isgrove, yeah, I mean, didn't play a lot, although did get a couple of goals and a couple of assists, kind of did what he did in the time that he was there. However, when his contract is up, he's gone. Might even get rid of him this summer if we can. Daniel Kemp, he's a strange one. I think I'm impressed with him, and I think he's got room to... It's weird how his potential is so high, yet his current is so low, despite him being 24. I think he could definitely get there. It's just going to take him a while. 10 goals, though, in the league, and 4 assists. It's certainly a pretty solid return, considering his last sort of consistent spell was at Blackpool. And, yeah, he got some assists there. And it's weird that they would argue that he played worse for us. He did have some poor performances, but I've been impressed with him this year. However, we do need him to start improving. He's just sort of stagnated a little bit, but he's still a good player. Obviously, backup goalkeeper Casper, still sticking around. Ziga's going to get a new contract, so I don't see Casper getting any game time anytime soon, but we do need him. Roshan Mathurin, like I said about a lot of these guys, I think he's got potential, but maybe a loan spell next season if we've got better players coming in. That being said, he could still... Oh, well, that's on the left-hand side, isn't it? So I still think he could be a solid player for us if he just gets slightly better in this role. Sam McCallum, I've not been overly impressed for him, but he does have 6 assists. He's underperformed his XG quite considerably, though. Like, he should have twice as many goals as he does, and that's concerning for me. But we are bringing him back for next season, so we'll have to just see how it goes. Dennis Politic, his contract is up this summer, and I just cannot justify keeping him at the club anymore, sadly, and I do believe he will finally leave. He had that one season where he sort of broke out for us and did do okay, but this year he's just not found the place. Guy Porteous, pleased with him so far, developing nicely, obviously wanted by... Is he still wanted by only Burnley, or are there other clubs interested still? Burnley and Sheffield United. So I think there's definitely something here for him. 6 goals, less goals this season than last year, but he does have more assists, and he's outperformed his XG again, which is solid. So we got 1 less goal than last year, but he did get 7 more assists. So it's definitely a step in the right direction. You know, he contributed to 14 goals in less appearances too than the previous year where he only contributed to 8. So it's slow progress for Porteous, but I like him, and I think that long term he could be an excellent player for us. I'm working on his crossing, because now that we've kind of decided that he's better as a wide player, I feel like he needs to get his crossing up slightly, because he's be able to pick those out. His passing's good, but just a little bit more crossing ability will certainly do the trick for him, I'd say. Rodell Richards, of course, I mean, he has got 5 goals for us this season. In fact, in total, he's got 11, which is not bad, really, when you think about it, considering how little he's actually played. But I think I want to look for a permanent striker in the summer, potentially, rather than having to rely on a loanee. That way we can spend that loan slot on someone who's going to start for us more regularly, because it's a bit of a waste otherwise. Anthony Sarcevic, 7 goals again this year, 3 assists. His XG is met head on. That's fine by me. I'm kind of glad I gave him the new deal. I was unsure as to whether I should. He says he's unsure about getting a new contract. I mean, to be honest, mate, like, you're going to be 32 by the time your contract expires. I think there's very little chance of you getting another contract here. But fair play to him. He's had a good season for us. Slightly less goals, slightly less assists, but he hasn't played as much either. Although, to be fair, he's made a lot of substitute appearances this year compared to last year. 14 substitutes to 4. That's made a difference for sure. Matthew Smith. I've been surprisingly impressed with him in places this season. I'm not too sure on him yet, but he has got 2 goals. He has got 4 assists. Slightly underperforms his XG. Maybe his finishing's part of that, but I like him and I want to see where he can go. Temunushkov, I mean, what is there to say? 38 appearances and he got 39 goals. Outperformed his XG by 16. Like, even if he'd just got his XG, 23 goals is a very good return this year and probably would have still made him top scorer in the league, or certainly right up there, in fairness. So I think he's had an excellent year. To be honest, I don't think there's anything we can really say about that beyond that. 39 goals in 38 league appearances, 3 assists, 10 man of the match awards. He's been absolutely sensational. And if he hadn't had those couple of injuries, he possibly could have, I'm certain he would have cracked 40. That 6-goal haul was one of the greatest things I've ever seen on one of these saves. Josh Tobin, unfortunately, he broke his leg in a training session a couple of weeks ago, which really could John Okoro any chances this guy has of being something special for us, but you never know. Now, Charlie Webster, I've been supremely impressed with this season. 12 assists is very, very good indeed, and exactly what I want out of a player like him. And he's the kind of guy, I don't know if he's still got a contract at Chelsea. Yes, he's the kind of guy, I might even try and bring him back now. Oh, you beautiful. 9 months. No. End of next season. Why do they always do that? That's weird, right? See, I want Charlie Webster back. I think he's been supremely good. Oh, that's Henry Uche. Oops. To get 12 assists this season from central midfield is exactly what I wanted from that role, and he's been fantastic. So to have Webster in the middle with Booty out on the left-hand side, and then someone else alongside running that box-to-box position, I think it's fantastic. And I'm amazed he's not got a 7 average rating, but he does have the occasional bad game. Aaron Williams has played some games, has got some assists in fairness to him. I want to see how he can develop. He's still looking like a really solid player. Remember, he's only 17 years old. I'm still excited about the prospects of Carlo Ziga as well. New contract coming up for him super soon. Like, 17 clean sheets this season. I really like him. He's pulled us out the fire when we've needed him, and sometimes it's just important to recognise that, yeah, he may not have the best star rating, but he's performing very regularly. Regan Booty, 20 assists. He basically gets an assist every other game this season. 7 goals as well. An XG of 5, so he's outperformed that, but, like, he did just about, once we started playing him in there regularly, perform brilliantly. Maybe he would have got more goals playing in central midfield, I don't know, but to get 16 assists in that role is actually ridiculous. And you'd have seen, it wasn't all set pieces, by any means, at all. Like, some of them obviously were, but he's got a lot of open play assists in this season, and by comfortable margins, his best ever year for us. 15 contributions the first season, 11 last season, and then he ups it to 27 this year. Like, it's all very well his average rating being good because of passes, but he actually had a noticeable and marked effect on contributions. He contributed to a goal in some manner more than once every other game, which is supremely excellent, and I love it. That's exactly what we want, and I will be giving him a new contract if we can, because we need to tie him down, quite frankly. I'm happy to start him at left wing back next season, without a shadow of a doubt. The only thing he lacks is a bit of speed, but we can train that, potentially. I don't know. It's great. Josh Brooking is another one of these players that he's been brought in for a very specific purpose, and we've yet to really get him enough time in that role to really learn it, but he is getting there very slowly. Then there's also Zach Clough, who contract is up next summer. He wants a new one, and he's had a bit of a falling out with me over that, but I was just a bit concerned that I mean, 4 goals for it. He's kind of nailed all of that, but I'm just not sure if I actually do want to give him a new contract next summer, because I feel like he'd want a lot of money right now, and it would keep him here for quite a while, and I'm not sure about that. And we're back to my man RCN. So let's have a look at some of the stats. We're up there on possession. Not the highest, but certainly decent on that one as well. A headers-on ratio. Carlisle. Oh, that's not bad. Look at that. We don't commit many yellow cards, which is good. We did have a few reds, though. Just the 2, but not too bad. PPG, obviously, miles above everybody else. That's fantastic. Attacking 102 goals. That is very good. Now, we obviously outperformed our XG, but you could see Bolton and Sunderland, like, Millwall were very much overperforming towards that first part of the season. And you could argue, really, that they're actually maybe even slightly lucky to get in the playoffs, although at this point it's kind of much of a muchness. Ipswich seemed to just fall away right at the very end, but it does seem that us and Sunderland were comfortably the best sides in this league. Look at the differences here. We were so good. 12 penalties for Sunderland. We missed more than we would have liked to be fair. Those were the 3 that Temenushkov took, unfortunately. So this is the thing, I gave him chances. He could have had 42. He could have had the record if he just scored one of those penalties, but that's how it goes. Up there on cross completion too. Crosses completed, not the most, but still up there as well. 10 corners goals, that's nice to see. Direct free kicks as well, 3 of those. Regan Booty banked 3 of those too. Indirect free kick goals, pretty solid. Nice to see. Clear-cut chances, Millwall were fantastic. We're right down here because we're not really focused on creating clear-cut chances anymore. We're just focused on creating chances, and it works for us. Passes completed. Amazingly, wow, Coventry, look at this. They bloody love the ball, don't they? Jesus. Shots for as well, that's a decent amount. Very, very good. Shots on target, which is the key thing here. We hit the target way more than Sunderland did, and that makes a huge difference. You can see a real difference here. Sunderland were just shooting from anywhere, whereas we were taking more precise targets. And our conversion rate really does show the difference between us and Sunderland. If they had a conversion rate similar to ours, they would have won this league, or certainly been up there. Like, they shoot a lot. Both of us do, in fairness. So do Millwall, but they were taking low-quality shots. Maybe they were just getting a lot of long-shot goals. I don't know. Fouls against, that's great. We win a lot of fouls, which is why we get so many free kick chances. Dribbles made, that's decent. That's a weird one. Dribbles played per game, obviously the same as Millwall there. Possession lost, we do lose the ball a fair bit. Defensively though, not the best. 9th in the league with 47, but that's still only just over 1 a game. That's far from that bad. Expected goals against, that is a little bit annoying. The fact that we did actually have, statistically, a very good defence there. And I've been noticing this a lot, and it might just be because of the style of football we play on both my saves, that my team seem to concede way more goals than expected. But they also seem to score way more goals than expected, often. So that could be part of the thing that goes on with that as well. Team conceded from corners, just the 2. Very, very strong. No direct free kick goals. And only 2 indirect. That is I've been saying supremely good a lot lately. But, 2 there, none there. And only 4 goals conceded off of set pieces is ridiculous. I've been struggling with conceding goals from set pieces for so many years on FM, and to have a season like that for us is supreme. Hey, clean sheets wise, not the most. Lincoln City were brilliant for that. Fouls made, we're not really a foully bunch, which is nice. Tackles 1, we should be, we have so much of the ball, I guess it doesn't matter. But tackles 1 ratio is still pretty solid. Blocks, guess we don't need to block it, eh? Possession 1, surprisingly low considering the press we kind of play. Clearances, we don't really do clearances because we play it out from the back so much. Interceptions, that's fine. Penalties conceded, well, none. Whereas we conceded 8 penalties this season. That was bad. Last year we were much better. We also faced the least shots in the entire league. So not too bad. And the least shots on target against as well. So really, you'd feel like our goal difference should have been better. Or our defensive record, but there you go. Average attendance of 17,000. And that's only going to keep going up, considering next season as well. Stadium sellouts, obviously we didn't have any of those, but highest attendance of 28 grand. 28 grand? 28,000. I'd expect to be averaging comfortably in the 20,000s while we're in the championship next year. Net transfer spend as well, remember? Where were we? I mean, we spent £38,000, whereas you've got the likes of QPR who've made 23 million quid. And salary-wise, where are we on this one? We've moved up a bit to 15th in the league, but we've got one of the lowest, well, not one of the lowest, but certainly a low salary compared to the likes of Sunderland. They're spending an extra $1 million a year, whereas QPR as well, it's insane that they haven't been promoted automatically. Both they and Millwall are in trouble if they don't go up, and only one of them can. As for the individual player stats, now, might be able to find something interesting in here, you just don't know. Yellow card, 15 for Dean Furman. Good lord. Oh my god, Ian Pittman. Jesus Christ. This 17-year-old regen, what's his aggression? Yeah, I thought so. Good God. This 17-year-old regen for Swindon Town, who's actually amazingly wanted by 13 clubs, some of them really big as well. To be fair, he's actually really good in some areas. Tackling. Yeah, he's been sent off 4 times this season. Good God. It's baffling. I'm still going to scout him, though, because that's interesting. But to be sent off 4 times in a season is actually nuts. Only 17. He's getting a bit of a reputation as the man here. Politic, one of his contributions to us this year was to get sent off. Player of the match was, amazingly, Cohen Bramall. And, yeah, most of them all. He will end up winning player of the season for that, probably. There's Scott Twine, of course, of Swindon Town as well. Players covering ground. We're not really up that high on that one, interestingly. Regan Booty with the highest average rating, but Temenushkov in there as well. And then, you know, Cristiano Noble, even Luke Badley Morgan as well, despite only playing half a season with us here. He's now on loan at Bristol City, doing very little, it would seem, for them. So, I mean, I would say I bet he regrets it, but not really. He's playing in the Championship. Headers 1, Hugel. That does not surprise me at all. He was winning everything against us. Possession loss. Regan Booty does lose the ball a hell of a lot. And maybe that's part of the issue. But Temenushkov, what about this? 39 goals. Harvey Nibbs as well with 27 is very, very impressive, to be fair, but nothing on the level of Temenushkov. He still should have comfortably been top scorer in the league. He was easily the best striker in this division, but he definitely overperformed somewhat, scoring an average of literally over a goal a game. Nuts. Just absolutely ridiculous. And he only had 128 shots as well. He got 4 times the number of goals as Hugel, despite Hugel having way more shots than him. 81 shots on target. Basically, every 2 shots on target, Temenushkov scored. Brilliant. Shots on target percentage. Porteous at 58 is very solid, but Temenushkov at 63 is part of the reason. And his conversion rate of 30% of his shots being goals is ludicrous. Shots per 90 minutes as well. He has a decent number of them. No wonder he gets so many goals. Free kick goals, of course, Regan Booty in there with 3, which is outstanding. Penalties converted. Sarcevic got 5 out of 6. And then, oh, actually, so that means Temenushkov did maybe score 1, I think, perhaps. Booty with 20 assists is insane. Assists per 90 minutes as well. Comfortably the highest. Key passes, 240, is just dwarfing everybody else. And key passes per 90 minutes, Regan Booty is godlike. No matter where he plays, he's just fantastic. I don't know what it is. It has to be the combination of his these PPMs with whatever it is about him that makes him so special. But it works for us, and that's all that really matters to be there. Where are we? We are here. Clear-cut chances created. Ironically, no one on there at all. But hey, it doesn't matter. We won the league. Passes completed, or passes attempted, rather. That's a bit of a useless stat, I suppose. Pass completion, though. No one on there for us either. 800 cross attempts from Regan Booty. Now, bearing in mind, that's probably because of so many free kicks that were given away this season. That's part of the reason there. Dribbles Wallace for 90 minutes. I mean, Wallace is right up there. No one on there for us, interestingly. I really do want that out of a sort of right-sided player for us to maybe get at some point. There's also Matthew Sorinola. I looked at this guy last season, didn't I? But the price was a bit sort of prohibitive. But, I mean, I might have to take a closer look again just to see if, I mean, the wages would be quite... We've got more money this time. So there's definitely that as a factor. Defending-wise, I mean, tackles 1... I know people always say you want to sign experienced players, but I just really don't a lot of the time. Like, they quite simply, they cost too much. And I know we've got a bit more money this time, but at the end of the day, I'm still going to prioritise young players with high potential because that's what's going to win us games in this save eventually one day. And I want to build players for the future rather than thinking about the now as much. And we can do both, of course, but sometimes you can find players that kind of suit both. Guy Porteous is a kind of prime example of that. Mistakes into goals. Malachi Walcott with 4. Ziga did have 2. That doesn't surprise me. There's Peter Kioso. I'm kind of glad he wasn't here this season if that's the sort of situation he's going to be in. Sorry? Good. I'm glad 1 key tackle was made this season. That looks like a bug and a... What the hell? That's a bug and a half. 1 key tackle. Well done, Rob Hunt, I guess. Has anyone else had that? That's bizarre. Max Hunt, of course, for, getting some key headers. That's just thrown me completely off there. That is a definite bug that wasn't in it last season. Must have been a new one brought in by the patch. Clearances. Max Hunt does a good job there too. He's quite young. Is he a central defender? Okay. Interesting. He's definitely on my radar, potentially. That's attacking wise. We want to be looking at defensive stuff here. Interceptions made. Wolfenden as well. Key headers. Max Hunt is all over the place here, looking very, very solid. Cohen Bramall's made a lot of blocks as well, considering he got some man of the match performances this year as well. Goalkeeping as well. There's not really much we can really see for that one. So let's jump into the actual players and have a little gander. So, centre-backs. Now, obviously, ignore the fact that I've got a ton of Korean players on loan and some of the former Premier League release guys, but there's this guy, Charlie McPherson, who does look very interesting. But that's not for us right now. We're really focusing on Famewo, Critcho Noble, Cundy, and I guess Charlie Good. Brookings not played in the right positions enough for it to matter, although he has made some mistakes. They've all made a mistake leading to a goal at one point or another. Now, one thing that stands out to me very clearly straight off the bat is that Charlie Good is making a lot less interceptions than both of his compatriots, and when Robbie Cundy's in the team too, which is surprising due to his height. Tackles 1 ratio is again slightly lower, but he does win a decent number of tackles. We do concede a tiny bit more, but it's about the same as Robbie Cundy when he's in the team. It's like either Cundy or Good kind of needs to play. Headers 1 as well. Surprisingly low considering his insane height, but there you go on that one, I guess. Key passes is not really that interesting as far as, what I want from a centre-back, but Critchlow Noble obviously the highest on that one. Good is literally exactly the same as all the others, and that is fine. Team goals per 90 minutes, we are pretty solid across the board with those guys, to be fair. Good has his PPG though, since he's come in, he's definitely done a better job perhaps than Robbie Cundy, so maybe there is something to be said for that, in fairness. So yeah, I don't really know what more we can say about that from the defensive standpoint. Like with Critchlow Noble, good, and if we can get Famayo back either being on loan or being permanently, then I'm happy. Robbie Cundy, I will give a new contract to probably. That will get us out 4 centre-backs straight off the bat right there. If we can find someone else that's kind of young and hungry, we've got Callum Doyle here as well, who hasn't played, and if I could sign someone like, where is he? Where's he disappeared to? Callum McPherson here, then, not Callum, Charlie McPherson, then it gives us a bit more backup. Let's just have a little look at Charlie McPherson right now. So he's actually more of a left back, I'd say, than a centre back, but there's definitely something here, potentially. He's on trial from Chelsea after looks like he's going to be released, so he's potentially a prospect, but not a centre back. So maybe another centre back would be nice to bring in. I don't know. As for that left-hand side, we're really comparing Booty and Brandon Fleming. Now, obviously, not all of Booty's appearances were here, so it's hard to say, but even so, I'm sure that Brandon Fleming will still dominate certain parts of this. So we actually do concede less with Brandon Fleming in the team than Regan Booty. So there is definitely worth knowing. Brandon Fleming makes more assists, makes more interceptions, but his tackles one is slightly worse. Does win a few more of them, though. Booty's better in the air than Fleming is, and his cross completion is actually better than Brandon Fleming's. Key passes per 90 minutes is obviously dwarfs him. Dribbles are about the same. He gets double the number of assists per 90 minutes as well. We score a lot of goals with him in the team. His PPG is higher. His XG he's massively overperformed that as well. But 21 assists in all competitions is actually insane. So for me, Regan Booty is our starting left winger next season. Brandon Fleming, if he's cheap enough, then I may get him back as a backup. If not, we'll look elsewhere. But I wouldn't mind trying to extend the loan purely based on the fact that Brandon Fleming is extraordinarily cheap. But except that's not the case because he's being released, isn't he? We could bring him in permanently. But it would depend on how much money he'd want just to have him here. Because I do still rate him, and he'd be a good backup to Regan Booty in that role, considering we know that he can perform there. So that might be my plan as well, like with Famayo, to bring them in. Either back on loan if they re-sign, or on a permanent deal, because I feel like they're good enough players to, certainly Famayo is, to make an impact there, even though he'd be playing second fiddle easily to Regan Booty, because he's been so unbelievable this season. And hopefully he'll do that again next year in the Championship. Difficult to know. He will lack that bit of pace, though, so we'll have to see. On the right-hand side, it's kind of hard to say, because it's literally not even considering half the players that we've played there as right-hand-sided players. Like, it literally isn't even listing Sam McCallum here. So it's not ideal. I think the right-hand side is still a problem area for us. There's not a lot of analysis we can really do here, other than that Brooking actually seemed to perform quite well here. That's what I would say. He's put up some solid-ish numbers compared to literally anyone else who's played here, and maybe I gave him a little bit of a hard time and shouldn't have taken him out when I did. But I do think that the quest is still going to be to try and find that inverted right wing back. That's the key. And finding that player is going to be so difficult, but I feel like once we do, it's going to make the world of difference to this team at that point. And I don't think there's much more we can say. That's priority number one, is trying to find a player that's actually natural in that position. So hard to do, but if we can find it, it can make a huge difference. As for centre mids, really we're comparing Smith, Sarcevic, Webster, Tobin and Brecken as well, to see how they've done in that period as well. But Brecken mostly played further up. Tobin would have been played more deeper. And then other players, sort of various minutes have been played in there as well. Regan Booty to an extent, but as we know, most of his appearances were slightly deeper. So Smith, and I guess what we want to really be looking at, like tackles one ratio is kind of important in some respects. Smith has done decent in the tackle, certainly compared to Sarcevic. And I think having him alongside Webster, that Smith and Webster pairing is very good in the tackle. And I quite like that, to be fair. Team conceded per 90 minutes as well. Wow, that's some really high ones. You can see that, Sarcevic is good defensively in these roles, but Smith and Webster, not awful, to be fair. Not going to win much in the air. So there is that. Chances created, that one's not really that important to me anymore, because it doesn't seem to consider most things a chance. What I'm interested in, key passes. Webster, 2 a game is certainly not bad at all. Smith often plays as the box-to-box, so he's more of a Sarcevic type of player. So that could be part of the reason it's fallen away slightly, but he does at least dribble with the ball a bit more than Sarcevic. Webster I've really enjoyed this season. Assists per 90 minutes. Webster's not actually that far off of Regan Booty's numbers, which is insane for that kind of position. Sarcevic and Matthew Smith are around about the same. on theirs. Wow, it's really raining hard outside. But we score a lot of goals with both of these two in the team. So there is that as well. PPG, quite important. Porteous is really high. Smith is definitely above Sarcevic on that one. And ironically, Webster is slightly lower. But Smith, I don't know. I really like the way the team sort of ticks over when he's in the team. He's hit his XG, basically dead on. What about Webster? He's slightly underperformed his XG, actually. I would have liked to have seen a couple more goals from him potentially this season, but that's fine. It's sort of been made up for by the fact that, Porteous and Booty have massively overperformed, as has Daniel Kemp in that same exact role. So, shots on target per 90 minutes. Sarcevic does love a shot on target. That's what I'll say. Certainly compared to Smith and Webster, he's got nearly double them. And he does find the target reasonably comfortably too. That's probably part of the reason that Webster's done so poorly with that 25% there. His finishing isn't even that bad, so it's a bit strange. But if I can get Webster back for the start of next season, I'm happy to start with a Webster and Smith partnership, unless I find someone absolutely godlike to come in and do something generally for us, then I'd happily go with those two again. I don't think it's like the most necessary part of our team to really strengthen in currently. But of course, it's all about what kind of players we find, because we do have decent cash available, to be fair. As for the right-hand side, it's another difficult one, because Porteous will have mostly played on the right. So Kemp's got excellent crossing, but he wouldn't have crossed that much. Clough as well. This is really difficult to pick, because obviously Porteous would have played through the middle a couple of times. Mostly on the right, though. He's the most obvious one that's played on the right the most. Clough, I've played in both positions, as has Daniel. Oh, no, Kemp's only ever played through the middle, really. It's so hard to analyse this at the moment. I'm just going to kind of look for like key things to point out. So firstly, the fact is Daniel Kemp is looking very good for key passes. That's nice to see that he's got that creativity. Porteous isn't too far behind, and then Clough isn't too far behind that either, which is decent. Porteous does lack that cross completion, which is very clear, given that he only has 8 crossing, whereas that Clough, if it would eventually bloody load, has 10, which is, a decent step up when you consider it at that point. It's like a, 20% increase in numbers? Maybe even 25. So that makes a difference. Not perhaps that much difference. Maybe he's been a bit unlucky, but still. 7 assists, though. Very, very nice. Assists per 90 minutes. He has been vastly better than Zach Clough, and that really is more important for me. And it might just be because he's not crossing so much, but he is passing it. And that's kind of doing the exact same function, except it's not counted as a cross. It's more of just a pure old pass. I don't know how the game actually counts a cross versus a pass, whether it has to leave the floor, I don't know. But point is, Porteous definitely has good passing, if I remember. Passing of 13 and vision of 11, but doesn't Clough have good passing too? 12 and vision of 13. So actually, surprised this is so low. But team goals per 90 minutes, Porteous, we score a lot of goals when he's around our team. Like, unequivocally, we score a lot and we win a lot of points with Guy Porteous in our squad. And I think that's very important to note. So I'm happy to go with him for that right-hand side for next season. But we do need backup there. Mathurin's coming through, which is nice, but we haven't seen enough of him to make a judgment call just yet. What I really want to see is if there's any competition to that role. And maybe, again, some of the players we've got on these trials on loans potentially could do that. I don't really know. But that's certainly a position that I want to strengthen in. But I want to make sure that we're giving Porteous as much chance as possible, because he could be something amazing for us. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. And now sort of straight through the middle, it's essentially the same exact players. I don't think anyone else comes into it other than Brecken, who played there a couple of times. But I still feel like Daniel Kemp has done well. He's overperformed his XG. He's got a decent number of assists. 10 goals and 7 assists is pretty solid from the lad. I just want to see him get a bit closer. The game reckons he's got very high potential, but I want to see him start reaching that, considering he's 24 years old. I just don't see how he's ever going to get there if he doesn't. It's weird that he's actually performed quite well and yet it's not going up. Maybe this is just bad judgment from one of my coaches or scouts at this point. But I do like Daniel Kemp. I still think, though, if we were to sign a player this summer that we could spend a lot of money on, potentially, it could be like a really strong 4-star current ability attacking mid that just trashes this league around, potentially. That could be like a superstar type of player to play in behind Timanushkov. Maybe someone that's got slightly better finishing. Although, to be fair, Clough can finish like crazy, but he's never played well when he's been... he's played okay through the middle. What's Kemp's finishing like? 11? It's not bad, but, 1 in 3 record for an attacking mid isn't bad. But when you're playing as a shadow striker, maybe you just want that tiny little bit extra up there, and his concentration might be an issue for him. I don't know. I want to find that shadow striker to play in behind Timanushkov that essentially makes a second striker at times, but can also pass the ball around a little bit too. I don't know. That's kind of the plan for that. So I think an attacking mid would be a good position to dump a load of money into as well. And lastly, it's strikers. I mean, there's really very little comparison to be had at this point. Timanushkov has played virtually every game. Rodel Richards has played a couple of times up top, but his stats are going to be massively skewed by the fact that he played predominantly, would have been playing out on the right-hand side, would he not, when he played for us. Oh no, he played 15 times up front and got 8 goals, which isn't bad. Weirdly, once played through the middle and actually got a goal there too, but that's not really what we're looking at right now. And he's on loan anyway, and I don't know if I really want to bring him back next year, because I think we need another striker to provide. I want a striker that's worse than Temenushkov. Well, I mean, I want a striker that's better, but I don't think we'll find one. But I also want someone who could grow into. I mean, we got this guy on trial, Graham Goldston. He's been at Liverpool this season. He's a weird player that can play either as a midfielder or as a striker, but he's got 17 finishing, great acceleration, he's 6 foot tall, he does like a bit on the mental side of things here, but he's not awful. And if we could get this guy on a free, he's the kind of player that I wouldn't actually mind putting in behind there. That 17 finishing is very, very interesting to me. I don't know how much of an effect that would actually have, but he's the kind of guy that could maybe be that type of role, particularly if it's free. Even though we've got all this extra cash, I don't want to spend it for no reason. But I do think we're going to end up spending actual money this summer. Hard to build it on a shoestring in the Championship. And given the board have given us that money, the last thing we want to do is disappoint them. I'd be very interested to see what kind of expectations they have for us, but only time will tell about that. So, it's the end of the analysis video. Maybe a little bit shorter than normal, but it's so hard when you've got a lot of lone players because you don't know who's coming back. You've got players that, like, you want to kind of move on. In the early stages, there's a lot of evolution of the squads. But we really are starting to build something here, and I think we can find the right signings this summer because we've got the right amount of money to make those recruitment decisions. So, the word of the episode is Active Max. It's these effervescent vitamin C dissolvable tablets I have on my desk here. So yeah, try and use that in a sentence, I suppose. That one should be fairly easy for you if you reach this part of the video. So, if you've enjoyed this, and I hope you have, drop a like on the video. That'd be awesome. Merry Christmas, of course. This is the last video I'm going to be putting out before Christmas. So that, yeah, so it's been a good year. So thank you for that, guys. It's been awesome. What else was I going to even say at this point? Obviously, there's going to be a few days off now. We'll be back, I think, on Tuesday for some more FM content. I think there'll be a stream before then as well. But anyway, I'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much for watching. Hold your gun. Capybara. Bye-bye.